Hi everybody, today's class is Eka Pada Galavasana preparation. It's a 45-minute practice. You can choose to take the 30-minute route if you skip the bonus round. Suggested props are a bolster, a strap, and potentially a block, or you can get creative. In this first round, we're going to be working in a supine position, but don't think this is easy, on the awareness of the angle of the hip that may be required. Okay? So start in supine position. Reach out through the inner leg lines and draw the head of the femur bone deep into the hip socket. Keep the low back slightly curved and the lower ribs dropping down. Take a few deep, all-encompassing breaths. Just getting an awareness for where you are in space, inwardly and outwardly. This pose deals with inciting strength and courage as it is in arm balance. So see if you can inspire that in yourself now, that quality of fearlessness. And grounding down through the left thigh, stretch the right leg up and bring a strap or a scarf around the ball mound of that right foot. If you have any issues in the hamstrings, you can bring the strap around the heel bone and keep the leg slightly forward. Reach out through the left leg, creating almost a 90-degree angle in the legs or slightly less. We're not trying to go through end range of motion here. Holding the strap with both hands, lift the head, neck, and shoulders, look down at the pelvis, and assure that that outer right thigh, outer right hip is drawing away from the waist so that both sides of the waist are equal in length. Keep the reach through that left leg. You may take it up off the floor to activate the muscles, connecting them to the femur bone, and then drop the leg down without loosening that strength. And now holding the strap, pressing the ball mound of the foot up towards the ceiling, draw the strap overhead, reach through the arms, find that resistance in the legs, and then slowly lower the whole upper body down, feeling the low ribs on the front of the body absorb in, and the slight anterior tilt to the pelvis. So the natural curvature of the spine is in place. Deep, smooth breaths, finding that resistance between the hands and the ball mound or heel of the right foot. Remember, we're working stability in this shape rather than in-range mobility or flexibility. Deep, steady breaths. Now walking the hands back up the strap, keeping that outward rotation of the right hip away from the waist. You may draw the leg a little closer to you. Make sure that that outer right hip stays soft. And then working external rotation in the right leg from the right hip bone, so from the femur head actually. Feel the inner right thigh spin towards the pubis and in the outer hip press towards your left heel. Toes will turn out to the side and then take the leg out to the side. You have a bolster option, so placing the bolster directly beside the right hip. Okay, so that as the leg moves out, it doesn't drop all the way to the floor. You have something to support it so that that left hip is still on the floor, left seat is still on the floor, and you can still find that extension through the inner left leg line. If there is room and it's easily accessible without lifting your shoulders, hold on to your right big toe with your peace fingers, those first two fingers of your hand, and your thumb. This is Supta Parangustasana series. Your Supta reclining, Pada Parangustasana is big toe hold. So just a little bit of information. Same activity in the legs, same length in the waist. Spreading through the ball mounds of the feet. The ball mounds of the feet direct very closely to the spreading of the sacral plate. So if you can keep them wide, then there's usually more room around the lowest part of the back. Now bringing the leg back up, holding the strap or the toe. Release the strap out to the side and slowly drop your right leg beside your left. It's more of a float. Take a few more moments here just to observe what's happened on the right side. Now taking that bolster over to the left hip. It's better if you have that bolster on the sticky mat so it doesn't slide. Feet are active. Thigh bones, kneecaps, ankles, and toes face the ceiling. Lifting the left leg, keeping the right leg active. Strap the ball mound or the heel bone, not the arch, of that left foot. Beginning with a 90-degree angle or as close to that as you can come. Hold the strap with both hands, and then you may use the left thumb to guide the left thigh away from the left waist. So there's a little space there just around the front of the hip bone. Look up, lift your right leg, reach through the inner heel. Tonify the legs without locking the joints. And then slowly lower the leg, hold onto the strap, resist the pull of the strap overhead as you lie back. Make sure that that waist stays along in the process. You may bring your leg about 3 to 5 inches away from where you would normally want to go, just so you're not in your in-range flexibility. As you lie back, reach back through the knuckles, wrap the triceps towards the front of your face, and feel the scapula become broad on the back as they move deep into the back of the body. So they're moving into the back without moving towards each other necessarily. They're more like wrapping around the sides of the rib cage just slightly. Strong activity in the legs, dropping the lower ribs, absorbing the head of the femur bones into the hip socket even as you reach out through the inner thigh and inner leg lines. As you are ready, walk the hands back up the strap, lift the head, reconnect with the angle of your hip, still an internal rotation. Maybe the leg comes closer to the upper body after a little bit of time. The hamstrings may have elasticized a little. Don't push it. Don't push it. And then working external rotation, hold the strap with the left hand. Draw the inner left thigh towards the pubis, outer hip towards the right heel, so that the external rotation is coming from the hip, and then take the leg out to the side, letting it come to the bolster. Now the tendency may be for the leg to rest on the bolster. Keep the activity, keep the awareness, all concentration drawing into the hip and legs, and then from the hip and upper legs outwards. So that's where your stabilizing factor is. Try to press your right thigh down into the floor so that there's still a slight tilt in the pelvis and the seat hasn't lifted off the mat. Hold the big toe if it's there and easily accessible. But remember, holding the big toe while it is in the name isn't the goal. It's just a direction, a orientation of the body to move towards. Several breaths, letting your awareness scan the leg lines, scan the hip, scan the spine, and then bring the leg back up, release the strap, and lower the leg all the way back down. Take a pause. Now for now, move that bolster about 3 to 4 feet out to your left side, about arm's distance. Round 2 is to work a little bit deeper in the hip opening preparation that Eka Pada Galavasana requires. So having your strap handy, ground your left leg and reach your right leg up. The same thing you just did. Strap the ball mound or heel and find first internal rotation. Strong reach and resistance up through the right leg, out through the left leg. Stability in the pelvic floor. the breath move the diaphragm. Now, this time without the bolster, hold the strap with the right hand. Find external rotation with your right leg. So the toes turn out as the inner right thigh moves towards the pubic bone. And then take the leg not quite to where it was on that first round when the bolster was there. The moment you start to move past that, bend your knee. And with the bend of your knee, notice how much easier it is to externally rotate that right hip, pointing the knee as far out to the right as possible, just with the action in the right femur head and hip socket. Keep the left leg strongly connected. Now, moving from the hip, keep moving the thigh away from the right waist. Draw the right heel towards your left hip, rib cage, or left shoulder. Make sure that this rotation is coming from your hip and not your knee as a primary action. The knee is not meant to rotate in this way. All the action should come from the hip. Now bring your left hand or both hands around the underside or outer side of that right ankle. Keep the spine in its curvature, and then bend your left knee and place the right ankle just below the left kneecap on the thigh. You may choose to interlace your hands around your left thigh, press the thigh into the hands as you pull the hands back, so there is that stabilizing factor. Keep the feet active, the ball mounds of the feet spread wide. Make sure that the breath is moving in the back and the sides of the body. This is a very similar orientation that we're moving into now as you will have in the arm balance. So reach your elbows underneath the right shin if it's available, or stay where you are. Stretch the left leg up, and keeping activity through the leg, femur head deep into the hip socket, reach through the inner left heel. Let it hover above the floor. Draw the right shin in close, find extension through the spine all the way to the crown of the head. Keep the reach to the left leg, even as the heel comes down. Try not to lose the activity. It's really important to have awareness in the leg that we can't see in the arm balance. So this teaches us that. And now reversing the cycle. Take the right knee out to the right side, keeping it externally rotated. Then start to straighten the leg. And as you do so, the leg will slowly internally rotate, bringing it all the way back up to the top. Notice if that right hip is hiked up a little bit. Make a mental note to keep it away from the waist. We're moving into parivrita, revolved version. So you may choose to strap your foot again. That bolster out to the side is there for a reason, and you'll see why in a moment. Hold the strap with your left hand. Stretch your right arm way out to the right. Deep breath into your abdomen. Shift your hips a couple of inches to the right as you start to take the left or the right leg out to the left. Now focus the rotation in your organs, in your belly. So as you breathe in, there is fullness. And as you breathe out, the right side of your abdomen and all of its respective organs drops towards the right. Same reach through the legs. Right shoulder towards the floor or on it. Now, if you'd like to take this twist through all the way up through your cervical spine, bring your left ear towards your left shoulder slightly, and then turn your chin towards your right shoulder. If you have room and it's available, you can hold on to the outer edge of your right foot with your left hand. Continue to move the outer right hip softly away from the right waist, maintaining space there. This is a really amazing massage for the digestive organs. It just feels like a deep sigh of relief for the nervous system, at least for me it does. Even in its action, there is ease. Sukham Sthiramasana. The seat we take in the practice, in life, should be both steady and easeful. Bring the leg back up, centering your hips. Release the right leg down slowly, and then relax the body. Notice the difference. It may seem, if you're not doing this, like doing all this work on the back wouldn't be so hard, but it is very invigorating. Now take the bolster over to the other side and we'll simply repeat what we did on the right with the left. 3 to 4 feet away from your body, about arm's distance, not quite. You can of course do this without support, but this, especially for those of us who are more mobile, helps us to find a little bit more stability and connection to the deep center of the body rather than going into our flexibility. And lift the left leg up, strong extension through the right leg, strap the foot, align your hip, and then holding the strap with the right hand or with the left hand, you're going to start to externally rotate the left leg from the hip. It should feel very familiar by now. As you do so, the leg will go out to the left slightly. Keep it strong and the right hip down. When you feel like you're at that moment where the right hip wants to leave the floor, bend the knee and then keep rotating the thigh, rotating the leg out, out, out. Right thigh will want to leave the mat as you see here, so try to guide it back down. And then as you find your end range of rotation without losing the strength, bring the foot over towards your right hip or in line with your ribs or in line with your right shoulder. Oftentimes the reason we call this Galavasana is, instead of sage, we call this pigeon, is because it's very similar to Rajakapotasana or Eka Pada Galavasana alignment of the legs, which is pigeon pose, king pigeon. Okay. Holding the hands on the outer edge of the ankle, keeping that external rotation going with your breathing. And then lifting the right leg, crossing the ankle over the right thigh, bend the knee, an option to interlace the fingers behind the right thigh. To avoid lifting the pelvis off the floor, keep pressure of the right thigh into the hands, even as you draw the leg back with your hands. And so there's this equal and opposite force. How's your breathing? It's a lot to concentrate on. Don't forget to breathe. If the breath fills the shape and there is ease in the breath, then the body will do what it needs to do to maintain that. Now you can stay here or loop your elbows underneath your left calf muscle, reach straight up through the right heel, and slowly reach the right leg out. You should feel this in your deep core muscles, right? Not that you're clenching your abdomen, but in those muscles that wrap around the spine, the transverse abdominis, etc., they're going to be a strong connection inwards to keep the low back and the pelvis from tilting up off the floor. As the leg comes down, keep it strong. Notice your jaw. Remember what happens when we think a lot. Sometimes the face gets really tight. And if you'd like, you can curl up, bring the shin a little closer to your face, come into close proximity with yourself. Now reversing the path, lie back, strap or hold the left big toe or foot with the left hand, keeping the knee bent, take it out to the side in external rotation. Then start to straighten the leg and slowly internally rotate the thigh to bring it back up to the ceiling. Release the leg, open the arms, reach straight up. Now strapping the foot, moving into our revolved variation here. Find length in the left waist. Soften the outer left hip. And then lift the hips, move them a little to the left as you take the toes of the right foot and the whole left leg over towards your bolster on the right side. Breathe and concentrate in the abdomen so that as you inhale, there's a filling and expansion which guides the hip away from the waist. And as you exhale, and it feels as if the organs become more compact, rotate the left side belly towards the left side. Oftentimes, if we let the foot fall to the floor instead of bringing it onto a support, a cushion or a blanket, then that left shoulder will want to lift. So we're just going to avoid that today. If you're going to turn your head, bring your right ear towards your right shoulder, and then turn your chin towards your left shoulder. It seems subtle, but when you turn the head, it just simply deepens the rotation through the whole body. And it can feel pretty profound, as long as the alignment of the neck follows the spiral of the spine. Notice that your legs are not limp, they are strong. Ball mounds of the foot spread wide, pressure out through the big toe knuckles, length through the pinky toes, negative space between all 10 toes. And then pressing down into your right leg, lift the left leg back up. Lower the leg down. Take a moment in observation, noticing the effect of all the supine work you have done thus far. How's your breath? When you're ready to come up, bend your knees, roll to the right, and then let your head trail as you rise up to sit. Take a moment with your spine upright just to notice this new orientation of the body. Next round is working the palm pressure and the inversion quality of the body. So bringing the index finger underneath that little channel between the base of the thumb and the very base of the pinky and the heel of the palm. This is the carpal tunnel. Make sure that that's hollow. Reach out through the thumb and the pinky finger so that those knuckles are grounded. And then maintaining a little hollow space in the center of the palm. Press down and out through the fingers. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, and keeping the knees bent to begin, take the hip crease up and back. Ardha Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Heads of the arm bones, the very center of the arm bones, lift towards the ceiling. Reaching out through the fingertips, equal pressure between the pinky and thumb. And then allowing the hip crease to deepen and lift towards the pelvis, towards the sacrum. Drawing the inner thighs back, deep. Maybe the heels seek the floor. Notice if you want to go into your mid-back. And instead of your low back, and instead of dumping your low spine down and flaring your ribs, draw your low ribs in and let the space just between your shoulder blades go deeper in towards your spine. This is working more thoracic mobility than lumbar so that we can maintain awareness in the deep core. Bring the knees down. Check in with your palms. And this is a shoulder stabilizer. So turning the elbows out and then under slightly. So there's a micro bend in those elbows. Bend the knees and take the hips up and back. Avoid straightening the arms. This is going to wrap the triceps more towards the front of the face, create width across the top of the shoulders, and make sure that those hands are working in the same way as they were in the first version. Shoulders are stabilized more in this way because we're really bringing concentration into the elbow and shoulder joints and avoiding locking them to get into the pose, using a little bit more muscular strength. This is a good version of down dog to take if you tend to value flexibility over stability in your practice. This will help you find the other. Now coming back down into tabletop, allowing for a slow, very conscious round of cat-cow, moving from the hip crease. Exhale is a rounding, inhale and opening. Now let's find that rounding, that cat spine. Bring your awareness into your low belly, and as you inhale, slowly extend your right leg back without losing the rounding. Keep the navel drawing back up and in without clenching your abdomen. And then slowly extend forward through the crown of the head. So the spine is more in a neutral alignment, but the leg is really far back. What tends to happen is when we extend the leg, then we dump the abdomen. And in this arm balance, we want to find a strong core connection to get the lift. Other side, round the back, slowly inhale, extend the left leg without losing the connection of the deep abdomen. And then extend forward through the crown of the head. Spine is more neutral than the tendency, which is to go into cow spine. And then bring the knee down. You can pause the video to do this as many times as you need to get that action. So once the feet leave the floor, it's very important. Sitting back and just taking a moment, with the toes tucked, sitting on the heels, opening up the chest, finding deep breaths. Now this round is bonus if you have a steady practice of headstand. Interlacing your fingers, bring one pinky finger inside the palms, elbows directly under the armpits. Tuck the toes, creating an equilateral triangle with your elbows or your forearms. Walk the toes in, and as the hips land over the shoulders, place the top of the head down. Draw the hip creases deep into the body, and stretch the legs up. Option to bend the knees to do so. You can also do this at the wall, but my recommendation would be to have your head off the floor if you are doing so. Finding that one long line, the same line you had when you were reclining on the floor with active legs, pressing up through the inner leg lines. Eka Pada Galavasana. Keep the left leg reaching up, and then without losing its integrity, start to bring your right leg down in front of you. Find that place where the outer right hip wants to drop, and instead keep it lifted away from the waist. Maybe it's a 90-degree angle, maybe it's 45. Press down through the forearms, keeping light pressure in the head. Keep reaching through the heels and drawing the heads of the femur bone into their hip sockets. Now, working that external rotation of the leg. So basically the same thing that you did on your back, you're going to do here. Take the leg out to the side. When you can't externally rotate anymore, bend the knee to deepen it, and then cross the ankle over your opposite thigh, just below the knee. Taking those pigeon legs, bring the thighs down, pressing the ankle and the thigh into each other. And draw the legs close towards the body, keeping the lift of the hip points. There can be a tendency to round the back here, but try to keep the spine long. Stretch the legs up and then switch sides. So the right leg will stay upright now. And then bring the left leg down in front of you slowly. Strong reach to the legs. If you're at the wall, you can bring that top leg, the heel, to press into the wall. Make sure that your knuckles are at the baseboard if you're at the wall. And then bring that leg down, draw the hips deep into, or femur heads deep into the hip sockets. Externally rotate the thigh, take it out to the side. The moment that you lose your range of external rotation, bend the knee, keep rotating, and then place the ankle over that top thigh leg, or leg thigh. Taking pigeon, bend the top knee, press it down. Keep the hinge of the hips. Strong connection between the ankle and thigh. And then draw the legs as close to the upper body as you can. Now, if you have a practice of tripod headstand, this is the way you will bring your legs down to come into Eka Pada Galavasana from headstand. We won't do that today, maybe another day, but just a little information. Slowly pike the legs down, deepening the hip crease, toes to the floor, and bring the knees down, sit upright slowly for several breaths in Vajrasana. Seat to heels, thighs together. You may pause the video and try this out on your own if you were just observing. Again, if you do not have a regular practice of headstand, if you do not have a teacher who is, regularly watching your asana, then I would recommend going to them first. Especially when we turn upside down, our proprioception gets challenged. So it's good to have a little bit of guidance. Round 3 or 4, if you took the bonus round, is standing. It's coming into Uttanasana, standing forward fold. Big toe knuckles touch. If this is uncomfortable, you can take your feet inner hips distance apart. Spread the ball mounds at the feet. Lengthen or press down through the big toe knuckles. Not the big toes, but the knuckles just beneath them. Feel that the arches of the feet are strong and lifted. Lift the inner ankle and the outer ankle. And then draw the thumbs up the inner thighs. Soften the outer hips with the hands. And then bring the hands down the outer thighs, allowing for a little pressure. When you arrive at the base of the feet, lengthen out through the pinky toes. Richard Rosen does a lot of this work, and I find it really beneficial to finding the orientation of the legs in Uttanasana. Keep lifting the ankles, activating the arches, spreading the ball mounds. The feet are so important, especially in our arm balances, because the legs are what maintain the lift, the reach, the legs and the core. Folding down, and then inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Bring the hands to the waist, rise all the way up. Now working with Vrikshasana and variations. Start by grounding down through your feet. Press down into your left foot. Shift your hips a little to the left so that your pubic bone is directly over your left heel, and then lift your right knee in front of you. Same external rotation of the thighs you did reclining, and then take the knee out to the side. Keep the spine upright, the hips level. Place the sole of your right foot onto your left thigh or calf, not onto the knee. Keep the hips shifted slightly to the left so that the pubic bone aligns over the standing foot. And then once you are assured that the hips are level, you may bring your hands together at your heart in Anjali Mudra, feeling the pressure of the right hand into the left and the left hand into the right foot into the left thigh, and the left thigh into the right foot. Stand tall and feel as if the breath is drawing up through the center of the spine, following a strand of golden light from the pubic bone beyond the crown of the head. Now draw the knee forward again, cross the ankle, and just play around with that external rotation. Place the foot down and relax. Tadasana Samasthiti, standing upright, a vertical line. Vrikshasana on the second side. Shift your hips to the right, ground through the right foot. Feel the ankle lift. Lift the left knee, and that same external rotation of the thigh as you did reclining, do here. Take the knee out to the side, and then place the sole of the left foot onto the inner edge of the right thigh or calf. Find pressure between the foot and the thigh. Level the hips. Pubic bone over the standing heel. If you feel steady, bring your palms together in Anjali Mudra at the heart center. Feeling the length of your body all the way through the spine as if the crown of your head were connected to the heavens. Opening up the arms, bring the knee forward, and then a few times externally rotate the leg. Just feeling that action. Feet together, Tadasana Samasthitihi, mountain pose. Now we'll move into Utkatasana. So we've worked a little bit with hip hinge already. This is just a little bit deeper, okay? So sitting down into fierce pose. Sit straight down instead of back or forward. Equal pressure. Bring the weight into the heels slightly. We have a tendency to move towards the ball mound of the feet. And then feel that the pressure is equal from the back side of the foot to the front of the toes. Now moving towards our peak. Ground through the left foot. Lift your right knee. External rotation of the right thigh. Bring it into Vrikshasana again, tree pose. If you can, try not to use your hand to place the foot. Reach up, 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 up. Now preparing for the arm balance, flex your wrist, point the fingertips back, and then palm straight forward as if you're giving somebody a high 10. Press the arms forward to feel space between the shoulder blade, and then draw the shoulder blades onto the back and deep into the body. External rotation stays in the right thigh, but remove the foot from the thigh and cross it over the left thigh, just behind the knee. Keep reaching forward as you hinge the hips back, keeping the spine long as you come down. Eventually, you may stay here, or bring the armpits in front of the right shin. The right arm will come in front of the shin just below the knee. The left armpit will come in front of the right ankle. You can bring the fingertips lightly to the floor or bring your hands, one or two, behind the left ankle and calf, slowly working the hamstring up the leg to straighten them. Now, this is only one way to enter the arm balance. But take your arms forward, shoulders distance. Find the same palm orientation you had in Adho Mukha Svanasana. Press the shin down into the arms back into the shin. And then try to lift your left foot off of the mat, curling up in the navel. If there is space, the knee may stay bent and the hip lifted, or the leg can straighten from there. It's a lot to concentrate on, keeping all the moving parts together. When you are ready, place the standing foot back down. Come to stand. Lift your right knee. Tadasana Samasthitihi. I recommend pausing the video here and repeating on the same side up to 3 times. Harder poses often require a little bit more concentration, a little bit more effort because we tend to be averted towards them. We often think one time is enough. Now, second side. Lift your left knee, ground through your right heel. You can move from Utkatasana again if you prefer. And then begin by taking the leg out to the side, external rotation, in Vrikshasana, shifting the hips slightly to the right so that the hips remain level and the balance is steady at the midline. Reach the arms up. Turn the palms towards the ceiling, fingertips face back. Find the reach of your side body, up, up, up. And then stretch the arms forward. Cross the ankle over the right thigh. Find the shoulder blades on the back. And draw the hip crease deeper into the body as you take the arms and spine forward, keeping the collarbones wide. As you fold deeper, if the ribs come to the shin, then bring your armpits in front of the ankle and the shin just below the knee respectively. Hands, maybe forearms, wrap behind the calf muscle. Press the shin down into the arms, the armpits back into the shin. There's your lock. The legs can straighten, right leg. And then working towards the pose, bring the hands down. Shift forward. Same thing. Press the shin and the arms into each other equally. Once you shift forward enough, that right foot will just lift. And then it's just a matter of finding reach through the inner right leg line to get the leg to rise up. Take a breath or two in the first round. And then slowly return the same way you arrived. So there's the same concentration and diligence in exiting as there is entering. Pause the video and repeat on the left side 3 times. When you are done, return again to Uttanasana. Finding the same lift of the inner thigh. Bend the knees. You can come into a low Utkatasana, hips to heels, and then widen the knees to come all the way down onto the back. Have your block handy as you come down. Just take a moment with the feet wide and the knees together, allowing a little space in the lumbar spine, in the sacrum rather. And then pressing the feet down so the heels are under the knees. Press the toes forward, heels down, and lift the hips. Place the block on the medium or the high level under your sacrum. Keep the pressure down and forward through the feet. Press the elbows and outer arms down into the floor to feel the shoulder blades move into the back. And then you can stay there or reach the arms up, cross the elbows and take them overhead. So because we've been doing a lot of work inwards, drawing attention deep into the body, preparing for a lot of folding action to get into that specific shape, this supported opening is a great way just to bring your body and your mind back into a little bit more of a balanced groove. We're not going into deep, deep back bends like Urdhva Dhanurasana or Matsyasana or anything, truthfully, that's going to require more effort, just because we don't want to negate the effect of where we've been. We just want to find a little bit more steadiness and ease, a little closer to center. Somewhere we can still observe the effects of what shapes we have taken. Keep the brow soft. And start to smooth the breath out even more, as if it were a continuous loop. Bringing the elbows back down by the sides, lift the hips by pressing through the feet. Remove the block. And then leading with the hip points, drop the seat towards the floor. Bring the feet together. Cross the right thigh over the left. You can hook the ankle behind the other ankle and then drop the knees to the left. Moving back into that familiar sensation of rotation. Turning the belly with the breath to the right. keep the legs in the same cross as you come back through center. Shift the hips a little to the left, and then drop your knees to the right. Instead of trying to push your knees towards the floor, use the right thigh to draw the left knee a little further away from the body, from the upper body. Okay? You're going to feel a little pressure in the root of the right IT band and the outer glutes here. It should feel good. Might feel a little intense. And come back through center and switch sides. So the left thigh is going to now cross over the right. Option to cross the ankles. Not if that creates discomfort in the knees. And then hips to the left a little as you drop your knees to the right. More focused in the rotation of the abdomen here than in the sensation of the legs. Let your organs be fluid with that cyclical breath. Sama vritti pranayama. Vritti is fluctuation, sama is same. So the fluctuation of the inhale and the exhale is the same. The arc upwards and downwards is same. Bring the legs back up through center, keeping the same cross. Draw your knees over to the right. To the left. Using the top thigh, the left thigh, to guide the right knee a little away from the body rather than down towards the floor. And keep those knees healthy. And feeling that pressure point in the top of your left IT band and potentially your glutes. Legs back up through center. Feet a little wide, knees together. And starting to release the control of your breath. Just moving into a state of observing the breath. Reach the legs out, hips distance apart, no wider. Arms 45-degree angles by the sides. Resting the back of the head, the same knuckle of each hand, the sacrum and the heels on the floor. Enjoy your rest and take a moment to observe the cumulative effect of your practice. Namaste.